Joining me now is former White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney. Mick, thanks for joining me. Let's start with this historic Gaza peace deal that the president announced yesterday, which will stop the fighting in the region and see the release of the hostages after 2 years of bloody conflict. Mick, your reaction to this momentous news?
Yeah, well, it's hard not to look at it, Caroline, as just an unambiguous victory and good news, and some of a rare piece of good news out of the Mideast. Yes, we can have a conversation tomorrow about how long it will hold, about whether or not Hamas will really give up their weaponry, whether or not there will be an independent third party to guarantee safety and security in Gaza. We can worry all about that tomorrow. The good news is that the hostages are coming home, and that is unambiguously a good thing. There's a ceasefire, which is also a great thing. There's progress being made. You are much closer to peace now in Gaza and in the Middle East than you were a week ago, and that, I think, everybody, Republican, Democrat, American, Australian, Gazan, Israeli, everybody would agree that that's a good thing to have.
Well, as I spoke about earlier in my editorial, there are some of these pro-Palestinian activists that don't seem to want to celebrate it yet. I mean, how else will they spend their weekends and their time? Mika, what sort of action can you see Trump taking if Hamas fails to hold up their side of the bargain in all of this?
Yeah, to your activist point, by the way, Caroline, just very briefly, keep in mind there's plenty of things they can get paid to protest elsewhere in the world. They'll probably be put to work here protesting Donald Trump. That's what a lot of them do now. This is their job. Look, if Hamas doesn't lay down the weapons, if they don't agree to the rest of the agreement, then there's going to be difficulty. But keep in mind the leverage will be different. The circumstance will be different because the hostages will be home. And that will dramatically change, I think, the playing field, and also also impact the sympathies that maybe the Palestinians have been able to garner worldwide. That if they agree to a deal, then back out. I don't think the Qataris would like that very much. I don't think the Saudis would like that very much. I don't think the Emiratis would like that very much. And if they become the group that breaks this peace, then they end up being the outcast party, and that's not a good place for them to be in these circumstances.
Yeah, you'd imagine they would lose a lot of the support that sadly Hamas seems to have, garnered across the world. Mick, if it does all go to plan, hopefully, and we truly see the end to this war, will this be the president's crowning achievement less than a year into his second term?
How could I not be? I mean, I was always stunned, Caroline, that he didn't win. He and Jared Kushner, who's also involved in this negotiation here in the last couple of days, I was always stunned that they didn't win the Nobel Peace Prize the first time around. I've said, look, love him or hate him, if his name wasn't Donald Trump, he would have and should have won the Nobel Peace Prize for the Abraham Accords. It was certainly one of the biggest things to happen in that part of the world in my adult lifetime. And the same would be the case here. Look, we played a clip earlier in the United States where I do some television showing Donald Trump in the 2016 Republican convention where he gave a speech in the Middle East and said, I can do it, I can fix it, but only I can fix it. And here he is 8 years later proving himself absolutely right. The Biden team had a chance to do this and didn't. Obama's administration had a chance to fix things in the Middle East. They didn't. It looks like Trump was correct that he could fix it. And so far, so good on moving in that direction.
Yeah, and he's proved all the naysayers wrong as well. It looks like that Nobel Peace Prize is surely his this time. It has to be. Mick, a shutdown of the government remains in place for the US as lawmakers shift the blame for who is responsible. Mick, neither side is showing any indication of backing down. So what actually happens next? Is anyone still buying the Dems' spin on all of this?
Oh, the Dems are buying it. I mean, you show me how you voted in the general election. I think I can show you how you feel about the government shutdown. There's not been a lot of progress here. I think we're in day 9 or day 10, depending on whose calendar you're on. I don't see a lot of progress, Caroline. The real critical first date, or next critical date, I should say, is about 15th of October. That's the next pay day for a lot of federal workers, including military, the United States military. So if the government isn't open by then those folks will not get paid. And that is a significant pain point for politicians of both parties. Keeping in mind, it's the Democrats here who are trying to use the shutdown as leverage. It's the Republicans who are simply asking for business as usual to continue the spending levels from last year, which, by the way, were Biden spending levels that the Democrats have voted for, I think, 13 times. So it's the Democrats trying to explain to people, look, we're shutting the government down, and we know that costs a lot of people a lot of pain, but we're okay with it because we think we can gain something long term about it. That's a really hard thing to sell versus can't we all just go back to where we were a couple days ago. So I think ultimately the Democrats give in. The day I'll be looking for is October 14th, 15th, 16th, because that's the next payday for federal workers.
Okay, we'll see what happens with that. Let's go now to former FBI Director James Comey, who this week pleaded not guilty to allegations he lied to Congress. The Democrats are claiming this pursuit of Comey is politically motivated. Mick, what do you make of Comey's plea and the ensuing fallout here?
Yeah, the plea doesn't surprise me. Most folks plead not guilty at the outset. That's not unusual. What's going to play out here, Caroline, that's very unique is that there's a very rarely invoked piece of American jurisprudence that allows criminal defendants to claim that the case against them is vindictive and selective. It almost never succeeds. James Comey is going to try to make the case today, in this case, that this was a selective prosecution against him, and he's going to offer as evidence the message that Donald Trump sent to Pam Bondi about pursuing this litigation. So it's going to be a truly unique case in American criminal jurisprudence. I still think the case against Comey is as strong as the grand jury says that it is. Keep in mind, under our system, the Department of Justice had to go to a grand jury in Northern Virginia, which is fairly democratic, and get them to bring these indictments. And they agreed to do that. So this is not the Department of Justice doing it by themselves. 12 good citizens and true have come back and said, yeah, there's basis here for indicting this man for 2 criminal charges. So you can't lose sight of that. But this vindictive and selective prosecution defense that we expect Comey to make is truly unique and will be fascinating to follow through.
And New York Attorney General Letitia James has been indicted on federal charges in Virginia following demands by President Donald Trump to prosecute her and his other political enemies, several media outlets are reporting. Mick, Letitia James is a long-time rival of the president, a long-time critic of his. What do you make of this decision?
Yeah, I think it's fine. I think to me, people say, oh, Mick, this is nothing but revenge. I'm like, really? I mean, if you took the Democrat complaints about the charges against Letitia James, what are they saying? Oh, my goodness, you're targeting a political opponent for an honest mistake on a bank application that got them some benefit, but don't worry. Why are you doing this? Because the bank got paid early and there was no victims. If you change the name Letitia James to Donald Trump in that sentence, that's exactly what Letitia James did to Donald Trump. And everybody who's saying, oh, my goodness, I can't believe the Department of Justice is this political. Letitia James is an elected official in New York State. She's a Democrat. She ran her campaign on a promise to prosecute Donald Trump. So I think that the irony is just rich, and her complaints about it are stunning to me because essentially Trump is doing exactly the same thing to her that she did to him.
Okay, Mick Mulvaney, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks, Caroline.